Hello and welcome. I'm Greg Lake, co founder and CEO of Fourth Power Labs. We are excited to bring you today's webinar, Clinical Importance of Lab Testing, presented by Dr. Rakna Patel. This webinar is a continuation of Fourth Power Labs' commitment to helping medical professionals serve their patients better. Today's format will not only include today's content, but Dr. Patel and I will also be answering your questions at the end. If you have questions, I encourage you to enter those into chat throughout the call. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker, world recognized cannabis medicine expert, Dr. Rakna Patel. Dr. Patel is the Chief Medical Advisor for Fourth Power Labs. She completed her undergraduate studies at Northwestern University in Illinois and earned her medical degree from Truro University in California, and she is also licensed in the state of California. After spending time training as an emergency medicine doctor and working with patients to help alleviate pain, Dr. Patel ventured into the field of cannabinoid medicine in 2012. In 2014, she started her own practice so that she could offer people care they otherwise didn't have access to. Her consultations have helped thousands of patients relieve their symptoms, transform their health, and live a better quality of life with cannabinoid products. Now on a mission to impact lives beyond her lifetime, she's published a book in partnership with Penguin Random House, has grown a YouTube channel to over 1 million views, has been interviewed on over 300 podcasts, serves as a go-to media correspondent, has taken the stage internationally educating both medical and non-medical audience, and most importantly, dedicates her time to educating other medical professionals about cannabinoids. Please help me welcome Dr. Patel.
Thank you so much, Greg, for the lovely introduction. So, as Greg mentioned, I am on a mission to impact lives beyond my lifetime. And my means of doing so is by educating other medical professionals like yourself. Namely, I'm educating medical professionals on the clinical applications and administration protocols of cannabinoids, as well as keeping them abreast of the latest clinical research on cannabinoids. So today I'm going to educate you on a couple different things. So first and foremost, how to recommend safe and effective CBD products to your patients, given that the industry is unregulated. What's the importance of lab test results, which are also known as COAs, certificates of analysis in the industry. And then finally, how to read lab test results for CBD and THC potency, microbial contaminants, pesticides, heavy metals, and residual solvents. Okay, so the main question that we're going to answer in this presentation is, what should CBD products be tested for? First and foremost, they should be tested for potency. Okay, so here's why. Since 2015, the FDA has been testing the cannabinoid content of CBD products from a variety of manufacturers. And they found that in many cases, the labels on the products misrepresented the actual cannabinoid content. So many of the products contained much less CBD than was indicated on the label. And then some of the products contained more than 0.3% THC, okay, which is above the legal limit for hemp-based products. In addition, a study published in 2017 showed similar results. So in this particular study, researchers tested 84 different CBD products from 31 different companies. Now, according to their results, 43% of products were underlabeled. The CBD content in the product exceeded the labeled amount by more than 10%. 26% of products were overlabeled. In other words, the CBD content in the product was less than the labeled amount by more than 10%. And then finally, only 30% of products were accurately labeled. And in other words, the CBD content of the product tested within 10% of the labeled amount. Okay, so why is labeling and its coordination with laboratory testing important? Because you want to provide your patients with consistent results from product batch to batch and from bottle to bottle. You don't want them to have inconsistent results. And for this reason, you really, the brand to go with is Fourth Power Labs. Their tolerance level for testing cannabidiol is between plus or minus 2.5%. Okay, so you're getting a pretty accurate dose that you're recommending to your patients. And it's going to be consistent from batch to batch as well as from product to product. Okay, so I want to walk you through some lab test results for Fourth Power Products labs. In this particular case, this is a 300 milligram tincture that was tested. And you'll notice that the amount of CBD tests at 0.884%. Now, when this amount is translated into milligrams, it tests within that limit of plus or minus 2.5%. Okay, so the next important thing that CBD products should be tested for are microbial contaminants, okay? So first and foremost, how do microbial contaminants even get introduced into CBD products? So there's numerous different ways. So many growers use compost with manure mixed into it. And the compost mixture is sprayed on the plants and ends up transferring bacteria in the manure to the plants. Bacteria can also get transferred from unwashed hands while harvesting and trimming the plant. The plant material isn't dried or stored well, which either leaves behind or draws in moisture, creating a breeding ground for fungus and bacteria. And then certain types of fungus and bacteria are resistant to the drying process. And then finally, certain types of fungal spores are resistant to heat. So this is where testing for microbial contaminants becomes very important. Now, it's known that, you're looking really at two populations at risk here, the general population as well as the immunocompromised patient population as well. And in the general population, they're at risk most at risk of salmonella and E. coli infections. In fact, within the cannabis family of plants, salmonella and E. coli have been traced back to this family of plants. And then in addition to salmonella and E. coli, immunocompromised patients also need to be mindful of testing for Pseudomonas as well as Aspergillus. They're at risk because, again, these bugs have been traced back to the cannabis family of plants. So with Fourth Power Labs, of course, the products are tested for yeast, mold, salmonella, as well as other microbial contaminants. So I'm going to show you here. So if you take a look at these lab test results here, again, this is for Fourth Power Labs products, specifically the 300 milligram tincture. And you'll notice that it's been tested for yeast and mold, okay, as well as its staph, E. coli, salmonella. They're also testing for aerobic bacteria as well as gram-negative bacteria, as well as Pseudomonas, okay? So there's a lot of testing going on, and you'll notice that the product has passed all of the testing that has happened. Okay, so the next important factor to test for is pesticides, okay? So why are pesticides even used on hemp? Well, marijuana and hemp plants get damaged. The cannabis family of plants, they get damaged. And the most common cause of this damage are pests. Most of these pests are typically insects. And so some of these insects bore holes into the stalk and stems, causing the plant to wilt, break, collapse even. And the entry holes make the plant vulnerable to fungal infections as well as insects that may crawl in. Other insects cripple seed production and plant growth, and then yet others cut down young seedlings. So in other words, insects can completely annihilate an entire crop of hemp. And the damage seeps, beyond just economic losses. It really affects, the grower's reputation. They could face government intervention, et cetera. And quite frankly, who wants to deal with that? So what's done to prevent an out of control pest infestation is to use pesticides, right? And pesticides, in essence, are chemicals used to prevent, control, and straight up kill unwanted pests on plants. And it's an all-encompassing term that includes herbicides, insecticides, miticides, fungicides, etc. Now, it's important to know which pesticides are used specifically for the cannabis family of plants. And in a white paper published by the Cannabis Safety Institute in 2015, they reported that of 389 samples of cannabis flowers and 154 samples of cannabis concentrates, the most commonly detected pesticide was PBO, which is also known as piperonyl butoxide, followed by bifenazate and myclobutanol. And these pesticides come with risks such as increasing the likelihood of cancer, neuropathy, asthma, allergies, degenerative diseases, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, etc. So that is an important factor to keep in mind. And these are the risks that I just mentioned that pesticides can make an individual susceptible to. And typically the risk occurs insidiously because the pesticides accumulate over a period of time in the body. Now, Fourth Power Labs is tested for over 500 plus pesticides. So let me show you an example here. Okay, so again, we're talking about, this is a Fourth Power Labs product. Again, it's the same product as a 300 milligram tincture. And you'll notice these are just the M's in the list of the 500 pesticides. And what I want to point out is one of the pesticides that I mentioned all the way at the bottom. If you can see it, it's myclobutanol. And in addition, they're testing for the other pesticides that I mentioned as well. And you'll notice that they fall within a certain limit. Okay, now the next important factor to test for are heavy metals. Now, how do heavy metals even accumulate in a hemp plant? Well, the heavy metals may just occur naturally in the soil or water, or they may be artificially introduced through the use of fertilizers and pesticides that are commonly applied to the plants. And the cannabis family of plants are actually known as hyperaccumulators or bioaccumulators because they have a strong affinity for accumulating heavy metals. And so, it's especially important that they get tested for heavy metals. Specifically, it's important that they get tested for 4 heavy metals in particular: arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. And it's because, these heavy metals, they carry a risk to health. Again, they may be hazardous to human health when they accumulate in large amounts in the body. They can cause issues such as neurological disorders, diseases of the brain, spine, and the nerves. So again, testing is important. Now, let me show you some lab test results. So again, I want to emphasize that Fourth Power Labs does test for all 4 of these heavy metals. So let's just take a look here. Okay, so you'll notice that it tests for arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. Now, what's important to know here is that the limits of detection vary based on the method that's used to test the heavy metals. And if the heavy metals exceed the established limits, then the CBD oil has not passed the test. But if the heavy metals fall well within the limits, then the CBD oil has passed the test. So you can see the results here. They fall within a certain limit and therefore pass the test. Okay, final factor that CBD products should be tested for: residual solvents. Okay, so what are the most common solvents that are used to make CBD products? Typically, they include carbon dioxide, ethanol, actual oils like kitchen grade oils like olive oil, for instance, or even coconut oil, and then hydrocarbons. Now, why are residual solvents a concern? So, the solvents like carbon dioxide, ethanol, actual oils, they're pretty much non-toxic. You don't have to worry much about them. In the case of hydrocarbons, they pose potential health risks. So what's important with hydrocarbons, should they be used, is that they're tested for and that the limits that they fall within are, within non-toxic levels. So that, you're not posing the end consumer to any sort of health risks. So let me show you some lab test results here. So again, Fourth Power Labs, they test for 20 different residual solvents. So let's take a look here. All right. So again, this is the Fourth Power Labs 300 milligram tincture. And you'll notice that they're testing for numerous different residual solvents, including hexane, propane, butane, all of which fall within that category of hydrocarbons. And then finally, what's another important consideration is to know which particular product which particular lab the products were tested at. Having been in the industry since 2012 and having an inside perspective on the industry, given that it's unregulated, there's, oftentimes to put it lightly, underhanded practices that are used. So just as an example, if a manufacturer doesn't like the results that are sent over from a particular lab, more often than not, they will send the sample of the product to another lab that may have higher limits of quantitation and, get the results that they want. Fourth Power Labs only uses Eurofins, and Eurofins is the only U.S. laboratory partnered with the FDA to assist in the development of cannabinoid testing. Okay, and actually Eurofins has been awarded an international award for this particular methodology. So that is an important factor to know about Fourth Power Labs products. All right, I'm going to hand it back over to Greg.
Actually, I'm going to jump in. This is Claire Konkowicz. Thank you very much, Dr. Patel, for that presentation. We're now going to open up the floor to any questions you may have for both Dr. Patel as well as Greg Lake, either about the presentation or even Fourth Power Lab products. So what you can do is you can either enter your questions in the chat function, which will be on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or you can email us at marketing@fourthpowerlabs.com if the chat functionality is not working for you. Yeah, Dr. Patel, if you want to stop sharing your screen.
Yep. Looks like somebody raised their hand. DM are the initials.
I do see that as well. However, due to the functionality of the webinar, either questions need to be typed in or emailed.
Got it.
Thank you, Dr. Patel, for calling that out. Again, for those who can't enter into the chat, it's marketing@fourthpowerlabs.com. We'll be monitoring that inbox as well. All right, we'll give it just a couple more minutes while people are formulating their thoughts. Yep, we just had one come through. Can pharmacists make specific recommendations on dosage and specific conditions?
Okay, so this is, I would say, a question that depends based on, you know, whatever the guidelines are in your state. But overall, what I found is being a licensed medical professional, you are at liberty to make specific recommendations based on conditions. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Greg.
Sorry, I'll go off mute. Yeah, that's a great question. I think you know, without going in the real big depth, we have some webinars. If you go to YouTube channel and type in Fourth Power Labs, Dr. Patel has given other webinars specific to contraindication and drug interactions, which may be meaningful to you, Ray, around that, because there are some things to be aware of. Also, Fourth Power Labs provides cards that you can communicate with patients regarding dosage. And what we typically say is to go low and go slow as it relates to dosing. And as you titrate up, we can give some specific guidance around how to do that, really starting at the lowest possible dose and then working your way up until you receive therapeutic index or the desired effect. And that's really a great communication between the pharmacist or medical professional and the patient, which is one of the reasons why we only market and distribute this product through pharmacies or medical professionals. Is we believe, Ray, that relationship is extremely important. But void of getting into specific questions, again, I would refer you to our dosing card that we use as marketing material to help the pharmacist and the patient in this example communicate with each other, as well as Dr. Patel's webinars around contraindication and drug interaction. I would also say, Ray, if you have specific questions and would like to go deeper, please email us at the email Claire gave, and we will contact you directly to maybe ask and answer specific questions that may get you in a better place than what we provided today.
And following this presentation, we will be emailing out both the recording as well as the slides from this presentation, as well as a link where you can access our entire library of previous webinars that Greg referenced. We did have a question come through our email, specifically, where is your hemp grown and in what regions? And is it all US?
So that's a great question. We actually have partnered, again, our whole business philosophy is partnering with folks that are the best in their industry or field, which is one reason why Eurofins is our lab of choice. All of our farms are accredited by the USDA, as well as we use multiple farms. One of the things Dr. Patel talked about is pests and the ability for them to wipe out a crop. So ensure that we're able to provide and have consistency of supply of high quality products. We mitigate that risk by working with farms in different geographic locations. But everything in our commitment to both the patient and to our distributors is that all of our products will be from the United States and through farms that are vetted heavily to ensure that we've got consistency and we have quality. But that's a great question, because unfortunately, as Dr. Patel will tell you, being around the industry, not all products are USA sourced. and a lot of the product and material that are used from foreign sources, and
Yeah.
typically that's the case because it's cheaper, and enables either them to gouge and make more profit, or again to have it on the shelves of 7-Eleven at $10 for a 1,000 milligram tincture. So again, the quality, the consistency and safety is first and foremost for Fourth Power Labs. That's why all of our farms are United States, as well as we have a heavy vetting process related to qualifying those farms. Dr. Patel, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
I do. From a medical perspective, the most important aspect when looking at products, especially in an industry that's not regulated, is how is the quality of the product being ensured from seed to sale. So, every step of the process, the quality needs to be ensured of the product. One, for the safety of your patients, but two, again, I can't emphasize enough the consistency of results that you want to provide to your patients. I cannot tell you the number of times I've had patients come to me who've bought products, either at a store or online, and they've come to me and said, these products, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The results are inconsistent. So really what you want to provide your patient are consistent results, and that can be ensured through high quality monitoring of the product, like I said, from seed to sale.
Great. I think we'll just leave this open just a couple more minutes. Again, that email address is marketing@fourthpowerlabs.com if you're unable to enter any information into the chat.
On a final parting note, I know that sometimes people can be shy about asking questions publicly. So the email is a great way to ask your questions. You have a number of different professionals who are very educated on different aspects of the product available to you. And so we will get involved in helping to get your question answered.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. All right, well, I think we'll conclude this portion of the Q&A. Again, as Dr. Patel mentioned, you can always email us at marketing@fourthpowerlabs.com, and we will pass along to the appropriate party to get your questions answered, as well as you have access on our YouTube channel to all of the previous webinars, which are a robust resource, and also tapping into Dr. Patel's unlimited knowledge around CBD as well as patient care. So with that, I will hand it over to Greg Lake.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Patel, and thank you, audience, for the great questions. There is no doubt that variation of potency and quality of hemp-derived CBD in the marketplace today is alarming at best. Users of these products are making assumptions that they are safe and that the claims on the label are true. This is both unfortunate and concerning. The great news is that you, the medical professional, can help mitigate this risk by conducting a comprehensive review of the brands that you recommend to your patients. At Fourth Power Labs, we believe in the transformative role hemp products can play in your patients' lives. We also believe that these products do not belong on the shelf of your local convenience store and administered casually. For the most effective care, hemp products should be taken under the guidance of medical professionals like you, with dosing recommendations informed by the patient's medical history and knowledge of interactions with other medications. Fourth Power Labs was created with you, the medical professional, in mind and your patients. The founders of Fourth Power Labs' knowledge of medical channels, as well as understanding the FDA-regulated environments, comes from past leadership roles at companies such as AmerisourceBergen, Harvard Drug, Major Pharmaceuticals, Rugby Laboratories, and Lecco Medical. Whether you are new to CBD or looking to revitalize your CBD sales, Fourth Power Labs is committed to providing a safe, reliable product bolstered by educational resources that empower you to speak to your patients with confidence and knowledge. On behalf of the entire team at Fourth Power Labs, I would like to thank Dr. Patel for her insight, and most importantly, thank you, our audience, for your curiosity, interest, and time. Within the next couple of days, you'll receive an email asking for your feedback. And additionally, we would appreciate your recommendations on topics you would like us to present on in future webinars. If you found value in today's information and want to register for future webinars, you'll have a chance to do so on the email I just mentioned, or you can subscribe to our newsletter at fourthpowerlabs.com. This concludes our presentation. Thank you again, and we look forward to partnering with you on your journey to make better happen.